Alright, small tutorial about plus strafe and forward circle strafes and circle strafe in general, because we don't really have one, I think. And we'll start off with plus strafe, which is bound either in the options all the way at the bottom with strafe modifier, or with plus strafe in the console, just like any other key. Bind it to a key that you can easily press all the time, because you will need to. In my case, I have it on mouse 5, like one of the side buttons. You don't have to. You can also use the keyboard. What it does is, if you drag the mouse back, you walk backwards. You can't turn because you strafe, but that's the gist. You want to draw it backwards. It replaces the S key doing S tabs. Like, instead of doing this, we do this. Just drag my mouse back. You can't actually see it on my overlay for some reason, because if I... Sometimes it shows, sometimes it doesn't. It's weird. You get the idea. Whenever I go forwards and I don't press S, I'm just dragging the mouse down while holding the button. Well, you don't see me look down because I'm holding the button. So, that basically, if you can look at the UPS meter, it spams back inputs. It's not one continuous input, like if I hold S or tap S. It just spams a ton of back inputs, which is basically the same as spamming jump inputs. Makes it a lot less like hard. You can even do it standing just by jumping forwards. You can do a strafe jump, like basically jumping forwards and switching to D in the air and curving around, and then starting with a little bit more speed. You can do backward circle strafe, standing too. Oops, that was wrong. This. Or you can do the old meme, which now actually works, the forward circle strafe. Forward circle strafe is the same as backwards, except you reverse the inputs. So in this case, I will do a backward circle strafe where I hold A, sprint, and curve around to the right. Like, I drag my mouse to the right until I'm facing backwards. That's a backwards circle strafe. You see my speed goes up to over 400, and then I jump. Sometimes even 500. Other way works just fine. So let's go from the A version where I do this, but now I want to go forwards. So I reverse the inputs and do it with D instead for the same direction. So like this. So I'm holding D, but still drag my mouse to the right. Remember how I held A and dragged my mouse to the right? Now I'm holding D and drag my mouse to the right. You can do this with a lot of space, or tiny ones. The tiny ones have less speed, but I mean, more often than not, they are enough. And you can do it standing with plus strafe or crouched. Crouched can be faster, like the top speed can be faster, but it's also a bit harder because you have to hold plus strafe at the end and then pull the mouse back right when you crouch. That's why it was so hard with S tabs. I even got it there, because you have to time it perfectly. But if you do it with plus strafe, it's a lot easier to do. And you can do it standing. Like you see D, and then I'm switching to A so I don't like go into the wrong direction. See how I'm jumping sideways? So you have to kind of counteract that. Watch the input display. I'm doing it slow now, which obviously doesn't work, but let me remove the tab, which gets stuck sometimes. So this is the input. With S, just to show it. That's basically the timing when I'm pressing it. Like, you see how the crouch animation goes down? The moment I hit the ground, I tap S. Or, in this case, plus strafe. If you do a weird hop like this, you see how I flick up a bit? That means you did it too early. If you don't get speed, obviously then you just jump on the ground. You can do short ones. Where you have to switch to A really fast. You also have to remember, the moment you hit plus strafe, you cannot turn anymore. So you have to be in the right direction that you want to be. If I do it this way, I'm suddenly ace-aging sideways. Like if I'm pressing it too early. If I'm pressing it too late, I'm suddenly going this way instead of this way. So this actually went from a meme to being really useful. Because, like I said, it was very hard to time for most people with S before. And you could just do this. Like, you could just do it backwards and then turn around. You can still do that, of course. But, I mean, this also works now. So one last time. In this case, I'm holding D. Like, I'm looking away from where I want to go because I need to do the strafe. Otherwise, if I would have started here, I would obviously end up here instead of there. And then you sprint. When you turn far enough, you start holding plus strafe and pull the mouse back and jump. And depending on what you want to do, you have to counter steer with like D, so you don't go to the side. The exaggerated ones, like the very long circles, are a lot easier to do than the short ones that you see, for example, Maxim do, because timing is a lot more precise there. But you get the idea. Obviously, you can do it the other way around. The A key and pulling the mouse to the left, just like with circle strafes. This side, this side, this side, this side. Whoops. I'm actually not used to doing it this way around. There we go. And that's pretty much plus strafe in a nutshell and forward circle strafes. All you need to know about them, there's not really much more. Also, for the forward plus for the short ones, make sure you are not jumping and then holding plus strafe. You want to plus strafe while you're still on the ground, so you get the AFH. Which makes the short ones a lot harder because the long ones you have more time. Yeah, worth it to practice. Relatively easy now and pretty useful.